Hey, this is Jon Johnson, the Mortgage Music Man, coming at you with a weekly market recap. A lot has happened in the past few days, so I'll try to hit all of it. That way you can be able to know what is going on out there in the market. All right, so step one is rates. So race is a topic that a lot of people want to be able to know what's happening in the market. These are not exact data when it comes to these rates. Rates are changing every single day. And for most loan products, you can be able to choose between about 15 different rates once you're under contract. As you can see, this is a general showing of what's happening with rates, and rates have been coming down over the past 30 days. This does not mean that, if you were to go under contract and speak with the mortgage originator right now, that you're going to be getting a 5.3 rate or 5.4 rate. But it does let you know that in general, your rate should probably be around that range of, high fives to low fives, depending upon how much money you put down, um, depending upon your credit score, the type of loan, things of that nature. But that's where rates are at right now. So it's a good time. It's always a good time to buy a home if it's needed. But for someone who's potentially trying to refinance or do some other things, it could be a good time for them to jump in and try to capitalize on it because we don't know which way the rate's going to go. All right. The Fed raised their rate 0.75% this week. Many people think that this is going to correlate to having higher rates in the mortgage sector. But when the Fed raises that rate, that actually correlates most with short-term lending. So a lot of builders, they get short-term loans to be able to build homes, to get loans in order to be able to finish projects, things of that nature. Credit cards are short-term. Cars are not fully short term, but they're a lot shorter term than mortgages. A lot of people's cars payments are, 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5, 6 years, while a mortgage, your typical person is getting a 30-year mortgage, even though they can get less. But overall, it was raised 0.75%. So in the course of this year, they've raised it over 2% so far. Doesn't directly correlate with mortgage rates, because as you can see, mortgage rates over the past few days have actually gone down. But it does show that the Fed is getting aggressive when it comes to how they're trying to battle what's happening with inflation. And as you can see, inflation also came out this week, and it's showing that it's now, it depends on there's a lot of different inflation numbers you can be able to look at. You can be able to include food and energy, and with that, inflation is probably around 9%. And if you exclude it, it's probably around 6%. Which is a 9% increase year over year. Overall, this is not the highest inflation we've ever had. In the 80s, we had higher inflation. In the 70s, we had periods of higher inflation, but it is a very high inflation that we have not seen in the past 30 to 40 years. So a majority of working adults have not seen inflation this high before. So what that pretty much states is that, especially when it comes to the mortgage market, is that is a big driver of mortgage rates. A lot of different news control what happens with mortgage rates, but inflation is the biggest one. So if that number continues to increase, rates are going to probably continue to trend upward like they have been over the past 6, 7 months. And then if they start going down later this year, like a lot of people are projecting, then mortgage rates on a whole will start trending down as well, unless some other big news were to come out. The last 2 quarters, this also came out this week as well, show negative growth. Normally, the general consensus is if you have 2 quarters of negative growth, that is considered a recession. So once COVID started, beginning of 2020, we had 2 quarters straight of negative growth. They consider that a recession. The actual recessionary numbers is not that. It's an actual group of economists that decide if we're in a recession or not. And it's always looking backwards. So they won't be saying we're in a recession right now. It'll probably later this year or next year where they'll say officially, hey, we were in a recession. Also, it showed negative growth, but those numbers can be revised as well. A month from now, 2 months from now, they could revise one of those and say, hey, one of those we actually calculated a little bit off, and it was actually positive for either quarter one or quarter two. But overall, though, this is general signs. Two quarters of negative growth equals in a recession. If your job is good, if your employer is good, if you guys are doing good, just understand you and your family, then continue on. In my opinion, save up a little bit because things could get weird wherever you're at. But overall, um, we're seeing signs that things could start slowing down even more. Potential employers could need to start laying off because they're not able to meet payroll, things of that nature. But we'll see how that goes. Uh, Lastly, this is a nice little infographic. 3 reasons to buy a home in today's market. Um, the first one states, as buyers demand moderates, you may see the intensity of bidding wars ease. So fewer offers per property. So April 2022, about 5 offers per property. May, about 4 offers per property. June, only about 3 offers per property. But as a buyer, you can't just take these certain statistics, or an agent, you can't take these certain statistics uh, and just only use that for how you're going to be able to put in offers for a buyer. Because as you can see, on in the second one, people are still bidding over ask price. So you'll see some homes out there getting adjusted down in price, but overall, though, buyers in general are still bidding well over ask price to get those homes. So in general, and the last one shows that supply is increasing, but even with supply increasing, people are still bidding on those supplies increasing to where we're still at a market to where homes are off the market within 30 days in a majority of markets, including Florida, where I'm at. So overall, data is very touchy when it comes to looking at it. I just know that you are still competing as a buyer out there. You may have some slight negotiating power, especially if you're in more rural areas or at price points that are outside the norm, like if you're in a jumbo, like, million plus, things of that nature. But in general, though, you're going to be looking at competing still with other buyers in the market. I'm working this weekend, so if you need assistance, please give me a call and have a great weekend.